After an entire year of waiting, the end to the Equuest horse browser game saga has finally come to a close. And it didn't crash, or burn, or blow up, it died with a strangled whimper. Despite a successful Kickstarter that accumulated over $11,000, the game would never be more than a concept, as the leader of the project, Washu Wins, killed it through negligence and poor management, and managed to string backers along through manipulation, and would eventually slip away from any sort of repercussions with the money in tow. If you haven't seen my previous upload covering the Equuest situation, I highly recommend you do so before watching this video, as here I will only cover the essentials, which in of itself is actually quite a bit to cover. But before we do get into all of that, I'd like to thank my Ko-Fi supporters for being more awesome than Primal from PS2 getting a remaster and re-release. This would make me a very happy gamer. Let's get into it. To start off, I'll give a brief summary of what happened before November of 2023, and then we'll go out from there. So, on the 27th of March 2023, a Kickstarter was launched for Equuest, a horse browser game that was supposed to capture the feeling of the original Horse Isle 1. A couple of weeks before the end of the Kickstarter, on the 18th of May, the Kickstarter would reach its goal and would start production on this rather beautiful browser game. All of this was made possible by passionate volunteers and artists who really wanted to see this game succeed. Almost all of the devs, save the coder, were volunteers and worked on this project because they believed in it. However, due to poor communication and terrible management, the game basically collapsed shortly thereafter. In very brief, Shu constantly had personal and family issues, causing long stretches of silence in the Discord and by extension on the production. She also went on long vacations during July and August, causing more silences. And this left the devs in a difficult position of uncertainty and worry. Because Shu was both the project lead and in possession of the funds, all work had to be checked and okayed by her. But she was never available. Furthermore, the coder was so poorly treated that they would eventually abandon the project in September. Shortly thereafter, the artists and developers would all leave in a mass exodus, causing backers to become frustrated by the lack of updates to the point that they would eventually demand their money back from the Kickstarter project. The project would lose half of its funding in September, dropping from 11,000k to 3,900k, which only seemed to cement its inevitable fate. However, Shu and some fans still held faith that she would see it through, and although the project would go slower, Shu and her new moderators promised to complete the project even though the original team had disbanded. So, by this point, they had, according to Shu, 2 new coders, but it was going very slowly, and all of the art that had originally been made for the project had been pulled entirely. Meaning that at this point, what they had were some coders whom no one had ever met, 2 new artists willing to start from scratch, and not even half of the funds they'd originally started with. And this is where we're going to pick up the story. So, on the 23rd of October, Shu had made an announcement that her daughter had tried ending her life. This would result in a hold on the project to ensure the daughter was well taken care of, which was absolutely fair given the situation. Now, as we know, by this point all the devs had left, and Shu had to get new people to help out. Thankfully, there were always people willing to help out, but the dev team was certainly a lot smaller than the original. On the 2nd of November, a new logo was designed and shared. This was positively received and blew some much-needed air back into the lungs of the project. Players became excited again and looked forward to new updates. In November, Shu and the team seemed semi-active, sharing their meeting minutes and being clear that this would be a long-term project with an emphasis on slow pace and a healthy mindset, and I quote, "Current projects and activities. Note, we discussed healthy work boundaries and had stressed that this project is for fun and not to be a mental drain. We are taking this at a much slower pace, with the development team discussed to be a much more manageable pace." Again, that's a weird sentence. "We have also discussed ways to make our communication stronger and more accommodating for each development team member. We all understand and agree that this is a passion project and is meant to be fun. We want this to be successful, but not at the cost of our own sanity." End quote. On the 22nd of November, Shu would make another brief update on the situation, explaining who was working on what and how it was going overall. As we can see, there are 5 people working on this project. Shu, in turn, was trying to determine what code to use, seeing as the previous code was, according to her, unusable. To be clear here, they did have around 19,000 lines of written code in Java. At this point in time, Shu had said that they had a male coding team working on the new code, even though the Kickstarter boasted an all-female dev team, and now they were trying to switch out the code for something else. What this meant is they were back to square one with the code. They had to start redeveloping this game from the ground up. All the art had been pulled, and now the code as well. Shu would again mention her daughter's condition and explained that it has been difficult with everything going on. To be absolutely clear, all of this was said in the Kickstarter donor chat, meaning that this information was not readily available to the rest of the Discord, meaning that people were still being technically left in the dark even though information was being technically shared, sort of. The Discord would fall completely silent until the 17th of December, when Shu would update everyone, saying, "Hey guys, I'll make a quick post in the general chat within the next few days. My kiddo is settled in at the residential treatment center, but is angry at me and won't take any of my calls. I will try and call them every day, even though I know they won't take the call, but I know eventually they will. It's been a super rough few weeks, especially because it's the holiday season. We lost one of our very best therapy horses to colic on Friday, and I'm struggling. The coding team is still chugging along, but I have been slow to answer their questions due to everything happening, so that is 100% on me. Here is a picture of the horse we lost. She was an Irish cob who grew the best moustache." In the background of this, and unseen, she would share a picture on Facebook of her traveling to an unknown destination. This would not be the first instance. In July of 2023, she would also share pictures of her riding horses in different parts of the country, enjoying her best horse summer. In August, she would take yet another trip. Traveling is a large part of Shu's life, it seems. We'll get into this a little more later, although it's certainly not a crime, but certainly frustrating for people who are waiting on updates and information for a project they invested money into. December would trudge in a near silence, except for a lengthy post on the 26th expressing serious concern over how the devs treated criticism. This was posted in the general chat, and I quote, "As Rattle mentioned in their messages above, it's standard practice to hand off a project or at the very least notify users of these circumstances and plans surrounding delays that occur. This is doubly true when you're relying on your patrons to fund your project. There's literal decades-long history of horse games of all kinds crowdfunding and then suddenly cancelling or changing the project without notifying users, and a lot of horse game lovers are both aware of that and wary of it happening in projects they support. Due to the way your community seems to handle criticism and concerns from supporters and interested players, I unfortunately don't feel I can support it, but I did want to send you this feedback so that you have some insight from someone impartial on why you're getting these types of reactions and why people are getting so upset when their concerns are being really condescendingly and kind of aggressively, to be honest, shot down." This is only part of the message, so I'll leave this up for people who want to read it. But again, the Discord would fall into a dead silence, only reawakening on the 12th of January when a user would note, "So quiet in here again." And then some idiot would say, "That's all right with me." The next interaction would come on the 16th of January when a random user who entered the chat would say, "I saw this game's Kickstarter and the art looked amazing, but there hasn't been an update in a bit. Is the game still in development?" And they would reply, "I'm not sure anyone has an answer for that currently." There would be a brief back and forth in which one of the moderators explained that Shu was still having trouble with her life-impacting situation from all the way back in October, suggesting the project was possibly once again on pause. Now this means the project had technically been on pause since October. And please keep in mind, by this point, no official statement or announcement had been made. This was all guesswork. After this, the Discord would go completely silent until the 14th of February, when a user would come in to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day. And then another month of silence would follow. On the 10th of March 2024, a user would ask, "Is the game just dead?" Someone else, they said they tried to contact Shu, but to no avail. To which the same moderator from before would reply that the last time they heard from Shu was in February, and the project is now definitely on hold. Finally, we have some answers, but they are working in the background and will update once they have something substantial to show, even though they have nothing to show now. Furthermore, she says that Shu did mention the Kickstarter backers and how to handle them, suggesting possible refunds. 9 days later, the conversation picks up again, with people now expressing serious concerns over the state of the project, and only on the 27th is a proper conversation really started. People really started to press for refunds, some saying it's a lost cause, others expressing their frustration and having expected a fully playable game and getting absolutely nothing. Finally, another mod would enter chat and say that they got a hold of Shu and she would finally be issuing refunds. The 10th of April would roll around, no refunds. 11th of April, no refunds. 2nd of May, no refunds. 13th of May, no refunds, and now people are seriously considering reporting the page. Another user would start spamming Washu Wins answer people, with a moderator letting them know that it's best to go through Kickstarter, as Shu still cannot see any Discord notifications because she apparently accidentally turned them off and has completely forgotten about the promise to complete a project. On the 14th of May, people started expressing their upset over the state of the game. And finally, they would start reporting the Kickstarter page and would contact their banks in the small hope to retrieve their money, seeing as Shu was unwilling to give it back. This would be followed by posts upon posts of people pushing to report the page, and one post in particular summarizing Shu's traveling. From the newest to the oldest, it goes. March 10, 2024, Hidden Valley. November 29, 2023, Plane Trip to Unknown. September 20, Disney. September 9, Peppermill Hot Air Balloon Festival, pre-vacay. August 18th, in a colloquium for school, Prescott, AZ. August 15, travel to Vegas and then Boulder before Prescott. August 4, Carson City. July 22, Shakespeare Festival at Lake Tahoe. From recent to oldest, trips slowed down around the time people started asking for refunds, but what do I know? A couple of comments of note are: speculation. She thought she would strike it rich seeing the interest in the game and knowing how much money everyone in the Horse Isle community has and is willing to spend on the game. She spent the money not understanding how to run a business and generate revenue, saw that coming a mile away, pay for overhead, etc. She thought the business would run itself. Now she can't possibly know what to do. Another comment says, it's the lies that get me. Why lie about hiring a new coding company? She had Kickstarters that had the knowledge and offered. And where is the remaining money? She was supposedly starting to refund months ago. Some other people would chime in onto what exactly Shu's role was in all of this, and they would say, I wish I were joking when I say her role was literally pointing at people and saying, hey, do this, and she couldn't even do that. She didn't code or do art. The only extra stuff I saw her do was fill in map tiles. She wanted easy money. The art lead would actually reply on this, saying she didn't even do that right. We told her how the game should work and what features it should have, and she just nodded and said, good idea. Custom Kickstarter horses, not her idea. Special breeds exclusive to backers, not her idea. All of the quests and map layout and breeds and tag sets and companions, not her idea. She literally was just the middleman between the coder and the rest of the dev team. She would have been better off being the money of the operation and letting the rest of us handle it. Project coordinator is a bullshit title for her bullshit role she played in all of this. Besides getting an LLC or whatever it was she got, she did next to nothing. Everything that was done for free by talented people that were at one point her friend. In the process of making this video, I got a chance to chat with Endarian. She was the art lead for the entire project, and this is what she had to say. I asked her a couple of questions, and here were her responses. The questions I asked were, with Shu now completely silent, do you really think the project is now defunct? Honestly, this whole project was defunct after the first time Shu disappeared. Me and remaining nameless, who work solely on the breeds and tag, told Shu we were leaving after she went silent the first time. She sweet talked us and we chose to stay only if she would be more open and communicated with the Kickstarter backers what was going on. After she missed our big meeting, I left and pulled all of my art. I shouldn't even have stuck around after the first time, but I had so much invested in this that I figured I should at least try and see it through. But Shu, time and time again, proved that this project was not near the top of her priority list. She somehow convinced some of the backers to not pull out and request refunds on promises that they were still working on the game. I made it abundantly clear in the Discord to the remaining backers that nearly everything that had been created for this game that they were so excited for was gone. All of remaining nameless and its art was pulled, which was all of the breeds. We had probably 20 to 30 done, all in 10 plus colors, 30 plus tag sets, which had 10 to 20 color variations, all of the custom horses created for Kickstarter backers, all of the Kickstarter exclusive breeds, the logo, and several companions with animations that had been completed. All of the pixel art and backgrounds were pulled. All of the sprites and quest NPC art was pulled. The only thing that remained were the tiles for the map. There was nothing left. But Shu was making promises that the game would go on with a new artist, with 0 examples provided to show the quality of the work and a new coder. Again, 0 examples of past work or even a name of the company/coder. I really wish the backers that chose to stay got out when they could. Not to try and brag or anything, but the work and I did is what kept people invested. They loved the art and the breeds. There wasn't even much of a game outside of moving a sprite around on a very generic map. The only thing people had to hold on to was the art we posted. So with that gone, what exactly was there left? It is surprising to me how little was left, and it is shocking to me that Shu was able to manipulate people to stay on even though there really wasn't anything to show. It perhaps stands as a sort of testament to how desperate people were for this game to succeed. But next question. What would you have done differently if you had a second chance at this project? And she replies, as for what I would have done differently, I don't really think anything, aside from the obvious of not having Shu anywhere near it, but the dev team did what we could. We tried to hold Shu accountable and we tried to give answers to the backers when we could, but we were in the dark too with a lot of stuff. I do not regret the hours I put in unpaid, that's what I signed up for. So as far as how I handled things, I don't think I would change anything. If I could go back and delete Shu from the situation and replace her with someone competent, this whole project would be done by now. And we'd all have fun little pixel ponies to play with. My next question is, will you ever take part in a new project? Will I ever take part in a new project with Shu? Absolutely not. With someone else? Maybe. I tried for months to teach myself to code to get the team back together and work on a new project, without Kickstarter backers, without deadlines and ungodly hours, and with little expectations. Just something where we could put to use all of the awesome things we made for Equuest. But it was a huge undertaking, and just not something I'm cut out for right now. So if someone came along that knew how to code what we were trying to do, I'd consider it. Creating this game has been on my mind for nearly a decade now. I would not 100% walk away from trying again with someone new to make it a reality. But when things got real bad with Equuest and the backers started to asking for refunds, I, along with some other dev team members, got absolutely drilled with DMs from angry people pointing fingers. And I think that was the worst part of all of this. I put so much love and energy into this project for free, but I'd absolutely nothing to do with the monetary aspect of it all. And they knew that. So to have all of these people that had once sit on my art streams and sang praises about the art and work I was putting into start blaming me for what Shu was doing, it really took a toll on me. I understand people are upset and angry, but we were upset and angry too. We also had money in this project. I put more hours in Equuest than I did my full-time job. So honestly, I can't confidently say, yes, I'd work on another project. Having an entire community of people attack you for something you had nothing to do with just honestly feels bad and really isn't worth reliving. It's hard to air all of this out publicly. I consider Shu a friend for a very long time. And when she wanted to make this game with me, I was so excited. So to have it all fall apart the way it did is heartbreaking. The horse game community has some very sharp teeth, and we're not shy to use them when we feel like we've been wronged. Unfortunately, people who really don't deserve it often get bitten, and the end result are people who essentially pull themselves just out of the community. I do absolutely understand frustration, and I also understand how that frustration grows when you're constantly met with people telling you that you're wrong, or even going so far as to get you banned because they don't like what you have to say. We have reasons to be so touchy and aggressive, but in this case it was poorly aimed. The original dev team had nothing to do with the failure of this project. It rests solely on the shoulders of Shu and her complete incompetence and poor integrity. I really hope that Enderian can one day move past all this, because her art and passion is plain for all to see, and I hope that this game does one day come to fruition. It certainly has a lot of potential. As of making this video, this is all that I really have to share, which is in summary a slow and painful death of a game that really didn't deserve it, and to devs who also didn't deserve it. Equuest had every reason, every possibility to succeed. Its only reason for downfall was a neglectful and apathetic owner who cared nothing for the time and effort people put into the development and decided to deceive them instead for a quick buck. I would also like to add that although the current devs promised that they were working on the game in the background, I am seriously doubting this. Nothing was ever shared or spoken of directly, and as such, I just think these people kept the lie going for as long as possible to give Shu a getaway. I could be wrong. And if any of them want to reach out to me and prove me wrong, I will most definitely listen. But I honestly don't trust anyone currently supporting this project. There is no satisfaction to be had here, only a deep sadness that people's good faith and hard-earned money was abused like this. The best we can do, and I will leave a link in the description below, is to report Equuest's Kickstarter to prevent Shu from ever opening another one of these in the future. But then at the end of the day, didn't she already get what she wanted?